free. And of course, this is all about the free market. And the big idea here is that we are a country of free enterprise, that we do have the freedom for you to start whatever business you want, and that you should be able to operate with minimal government interference. That if he wants to make his coffee, make his coffee. As long as he's not hurting anybody by making his coffee, kudos. If he's dumping poison into the rivers to make coffee, well, that is hurting other people. So that's kind of the essence of freedom. As long as you're not hurting others or trampling on their rights, you have the freedom to do what you want. So, a few terms that we'll see. Capitalism, free enterprise, consumer sovereignty, private property. Hopefully much of this will make sense to you, but you need to understand the technical terms that go along with these, like competition, profit motive, even voluntary exchange. And then finally, all this is based around a theory, an economic theory called laissez-faire. Adam Smith came up with the term laissez-faire. He believed that economics works like an invisible hand, that it regulates itself. History has shown differently, but we'll still look at the theory to see what you think about it. And so next, what do you think? This is more of a theoretical question. To what degree should government be involved in private business? Because like it or not, even though you have the freedom to start a coffee shop, there's a lot of rules and regulations that you'll need to learn before you start your coffee shop. Same with the catering business, same with the candy company. So, first off, capitalism is the economic system that we operate under here in our country. That means that if you start a coffee company, you will be taking your own personal financial risk, but you will also be reaping the profits of your success or dealing with the consequences of your failure. And that's, after all, capitalism. Capitalism means a system in which private citizens own, if not all, most of the means of production, and decide how to use them within lawful limits. So what are the means of production? That's what we'll look at in this first bit. So capitalism, the essence is that free markets in private ownership are used to seek profits. Does anybody want to buy a stapler? $5. Stapler, $5? No? Okay. So I've made zero profit. But I also invested zero money because I didn't buy this stapler. So I've lost nothing. I've invested the energy it took to try to sell you a stapler for $5, but since I have no overhead, I'm taking no financial risk. But if I were to purchase 10,000 staplers and then to try to sell them for a profit, I have now become an entrepreneur. I have now taken a risk. And that's the essence of capitalism. If I can sell these for a profit, I get to keep the profit. And that, of course, is free enterprise. Free enterprise means that individuals and businesses are allowed to compete for profit with a minimum amount of government interference. So if I'm selling these for $5 a piece, I bought them for $2 a piece in bulk. I'm selling them for $5. Well, let's say that Alan's smart, he catches on, he starts selling staplers for $4 a piece. Still at a profit, but he's now underselling me. I'm out of business, I starve to death and die. Alan becomes a millionaire. It's nothing personal, it's just business. He's not trying to kill me, but he's driven me out of business. But all's fair, because he's going for a profit motive, which is the essence of free enterprise. So, capitalism. A, markets. None of you wanted to buy my stapler, so I don't have a market for it. So I just did some market research. No one wanted to buy my stapler. There's no market, ergo I'm not investing in staplers. Simple research, problem solved. There has to be a market for your product. Somebody has to want to solicit Victoria's services for catering, or she has no market and she will fail. If there's a market, if people want that product, then it's going to work. And this actually is a very complicated step in figuring out, is there a market for your product? Are people going to buy your coffee? Well, there's already coffee shops in Hendersonville. Is one more going to be profitable, or is he going to have to locate somewhere else? Don't know. That's something you'll have to research. And that also means, is he going to operate locally? Well, he'll probably have to start locally. If not here, then somewhere else. But even a local business is going to require an interconnected economy, because he might source his coffee from Ecuador or from Cuba or from Guatemala, probably a tropical region that specializes in coffee plantations. And then he's going to have to figure out price, which of course you guys did the Jelly Donut group project, and what you found was a relationship between price and demand. Because after all, if I sell my stapler for $5 and you buy it, awesome. The economic theory is sound, that if Alan prices his at $4, he's going to sell more. It just stands to reason that the lower the price, the higher the demand. And this, after all, is based on the theory of consumer sovereignty. Consumer sovereignty means that the role of the consumer as the ruler of the market determines what products will be produced. If no one buys Chromebooks, Google will stop making them. If there's a market for Chromebooks, Google makes them. When people stop buying them, they'll stop making them. That's called consumer sovereignty. We vote with our wallets. It's unfortunate that slaves in Malaysia make t-shirts for less than $1 a week. It's really tragic. But until people start buying fair trade, or start buying from locally sourced products only, or only start buying from ethical businesses, as long as we buy based on what's cheap, which we know is sound economic theory, there's going to be some slave in Malaysia making those t-shirts. It's unfortunate, but it's reality. You're not going to stop buying t-shirts from Malaysia, ergo, slaves will continue to make t-shirts in Malaysia. It's unfortunate, but that's the theory of consumer sovereignty. We don't vote when we shop, though we are in a way, right? Really, what we're deciding is what should be in that store when we shop. What is worth it to that store to stock their shelves with? On the concept of economic freedom. That means that any job that you choose has a trade-off. You may choose whatever job you want, but there's a trade-off. Any purchase that you choose has a trade-off. You have the choice, you have the freedom to choose. But that also means you have to accept the consequences that come with that choice. You know, yesterday I took my bike to the shop on Sunday and I picked it up yesterday. $150 to get the shocks serviced. Oh man, it was tough. But if I don't do it, eventually the shocks will blow out, and that's a $1,000 fix for one of the shocks. For two, I don't even know. That's scary. So every year I pay $150 to get them serviced. It's expensive, but I understand, and that means that I can't go out to eat as much this month. It had to be done. If I don't do it, it's going to be potentially a $1,500 fix. That's a lot for a bike. And that's way more than I'm willing to pay. So I would rather make the choice. Again, it's my free choice to get that service done. comes into private property rights. Private property rights are the essence of democracy. In fact, John Locke coined the phrase life, liberty, property. Of course, Thomas Jefferson changed it to life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. But it all comes into private property rights, meaning that when you own something, it is yours. If you want to hit your phone with a baseball bat until it explodes, that is your right to do so. Doesn't make it a smart decision, but I suppose it's your right, unless your parents bought it for you, then they're going to be really upset. But if you want to stick it in the microwave to see what happens, it's your property. Knock yourself out. That is, you have the freedom to own and use your own property as you choose. But here's the catch. You cannot use your property to infringe on the rights of others. You just bought a nice baseball bat, Louisville Slugger, solid wood, that's wonderful. That doesn't mean you should go hit someone with it. Again, it is your property. You may set it on fire, you can try to eat it, you can feed it to your dog, you can throw it out a window, out of a moving car, but again, when that hits someone else, you're in violation of the law. Your private property does not guarantee your right to hurt someone with it. But it's your freedom to use it however you want. But that's actually a very complex issue. What about your property, your land, where you put your house on? Well, what you do on your land is your own business, as long as it doesn't affect anyone else. If you start growing meth on your property, I don't know if you do grow it, you make it, whatever you do with meth, you start making meth on your property, that could affect other people. Because after all, you're going to sell that meth and it's going to hurt people. Even the production of meth is highly volatile and dangerous. And so there could be chemical byproducts that affect the water quality of your neighbor's homes. That's not just making an illicit substance. That's actually hurting your neighbor's property values and perhaps endangering their safety. But after all, private property is a powerful incentive. Why do you want to do the things you do? Incentive means a reward offered to try to persuade people to take certain economic actions. Man, getting up early yesterday hurt. Hurt a little less today. Tomorrow it'll hurt, not so bad. Finally, I'll just get used to it again. I'd love to sleep in until 9:30 every day, maybe 8:30, maybe 9:30. I'm kind of a night owl. I like staying up. I'd rather just sleep in every day, right? It was pretty sweet over spring break, getting up, making my coffee, and sitting on the porch like an old man, reading the news, except on my phone. And just playing on my phone, sitting there doing nothing, watching the dogs dig stuff. And that was a pretty great spring break. Waking up slowly, relaxing. Man, I wish I could just do that forever. I guess someday I'll be old and retired. But right now I have to work, because if I don't, eventually the bank's going to take away my house. Eventually I won't be able to pay taxes on my car, and I'll lose that too. Eventually I won't be able to take care of my family, and I guess they'll leave too, and I'd just be out and I'd starve to death. So staying alive is a powerful incentive. Well, that's going to make you work a little bit. But what's going to motivate you to try to do something awesome? Because after all, we need people to do awesome things, because we want you to be the next Elon Musk and put spaceships in outer space and make electric cars that are going to run forever. What's going to motivate you to do that? Well, the hope to become wealthy is a powerful incentive. Because after all, if you've had to earn something, you're going to have far more value ascribed to it. When I was your age, I got my first car. Big mistake on my parents' part. They got it for me. It was super cheap. I crashed it within a week. Destroyed it. I drove super fast when I was 16. I had a stick shift and a Volkswagen Jetta. It was nothing fancy, but I was a reckless driver. Man, I could drift around curves. Seriously. I would pass people on double line curves. I was just an accident waiting to happen, and life caught up. and I jumped the car over a creek, and I'm lucky to be alive. Well, my next vehicle, I worked my tail off all summer. My parents were like, that was it. It was a cheap car, but still they were like, that was it. That was your one free car ever. My next vehicle, I can tell you, I cleaned bathrooms, I did construction, I mowed lawns, I carried boats, I loaded trucks, I worked my tail off. And I've got scars and arthritis to prove it. But by gosh, that truck was mine. I bought it. And that meant something. And I took care of that truck. I valued that thing that I owned because I earned it. And I tended to take better care of it because I understood the value of it. That's the essence of private property. Final aspect of capitalism, and that is competition. When I applied and interviewed for this job, there were other people competing against me for this job. I had to excel above the competition to get this job, just like you will. That's a powerful motivator, folks. I mean, my first job, working for my dad, it was a guaranteed job. I didn't appreciate it because I had to do it, but my first job of picking up garbage at a company, I didn't have to compete for that job. I didn't have to earn that job. I just had that job, and it sucked. And so I didn't appreciate it. But again, the essence of competition is the struggle that goes on between buyers and sellers to get the best products at the lowest prices. Because after all, if Bryce is serving great coffee and someone next door serves the same quality coffee for a lower price, he's not selling any coffee. So what does that lead to? Well, it leads to a struggle between buyers and sellers. You probably walked into a store over the break, I know I did, and you looked at a product and you looked at its price, and then you checked its value on Amazon, and you might have bought it on Amazon instead. You just voted with your wallet. You told that store, sorry guys, that's great, but it's cheaper elsewhere. So that's a struggle between the buyer and the seller. It also leads to efficiency. Unfortunately, what that's going to do is drive those stores out of business. But it's going to lead to a more efficient economy where we'll just buy things on Amazon. It's going to make production more efficient. Henry Ford perhaps perfected this with the Model T. He was able to produce the automobile cheaper than anyone else on the planet. And he's the reason why Ford Motor Company is the household name it is today. Through efficiency, Henry Ford became extremely wealthy and also made a high-quality product that people actually wanted, leading to more satisfied customers. Because after all, if you can buy a great product for a lower price, you're going to be more satisfied. I love Apple products. I would love a MacBook Air. Probably not going to happen anytime soon. I could save up and afford one. But I'm not going to. Because I have a Chromebook. Chromebooks are like $100. They're great. They're nothing fancy. But it does email, it has a keyboard, it does our Google Docs and calendar and whatnot. It does all the web services I need. But at the end of the day, I'm going to buy the cheaper product because, well, that's capitalism. That's competition. They didn't do it as a service to humanity, although it's benefited us. It's made you guys more efficient. It's helped us get our work done much easier. But they did it because they wanted to make money. They have a profit motive, just like any other company. The profit motive is the driving force that encourages individuals and organizations to improve their material well-being. It's the why we do things. Why are you going to cater? It might be fun to make food. It might be fun to serve others and help them enjoy their festivities. But ultimately, you're hoping to make money. And that's going to lead you to make really good food and provide really good customer service and really put yourself out there in terms of advertising. Because after all, don't we all want to get rich? Or at least be able to live comfortably? And that's the essence of profit. Profit is the money a business receives for its products or services over and above its cost. Buy for a dollar, sell for two. It's the essence of the profit motive. So, it encourages the improvement of our own well-being, meaning that if you're going to make a profit, you're going to have to present yourself professionally. You're going to have to work hard to keep your business clean and well run. And you're going to have to really work hard. And that, in a free market system, is the impetus. It is the driving force of growth. Because it is based on voluntary exchange. Voluntary exchange is the act of buyers and sellers freely and willingly engaging in market transactions. Because if you don't want to buy my stapler, I can't sell you staplers. If I can't sell anybody staplers, I've got to find something else to do. If Bryce can't sell coffee, maybe he'll try ice cream. Maybe ice cream sells better than coffee. Maybe he'll diversify. Maybe he sells some coffee, but not enough to make a living. You know, some guys I know about 10 years ago founded Liquid Logic Kayaks. It's based in Fletcher, North Carolina, just near here. About 10 years ago, they founded that business. They wanted to make whitewater kayaks. They're whitewater kayakers. They traveled the world. They saw a market opportunity, and they founded their business. What they found, and you can ask them about this, the owners are Shane Benedict and Woody Calloway. Woody lives down the road here. Shane's also down the road here. They both live within 5 minutes of campus. Well, they found that not that many people like to buy whitewater kayaks. There's not enough of us to keep them in business. So they diversified. They had a choice. Either A, they could start making coffee, people like coffee, or B, they could diversify. What they found was that there are lots of people like Christian Brown. Lots of people like fishing kayaks. And so now they make fishing kayaks in addition to whitewater kayaks. And they become a viable business, and they're one of the large employers around here. All based on the voluntary exchange. And that is the act of freely engaging in market transactions. That if someone buys their kayaks, awesome, but not enough people were, and so they had to think of something else that sells. When you buy their kayaks and they're great products, they benefit, they make money, they're engaged in a profit motive business. You benefit too because you get a great product for a decent price. But both the buyer and the seller have to give up something in order for business to work. You're giving up your money, that is the quantitative value of your hard work. They're giving up their product. And they benefit as a result. Okay. History of capitalism. Try to be brief. Capitalism has developed gradually. It is part of the essence of our country's history. It was formalized with a book, I've got a copy if you want to borrow it, called Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations, published in 1776, the very same year that we signed our Declaration of Independence. And it was the first formal description of basic economic principles. That is the invisible hand. You see, how does this work? Well, it means that if Becky makes a product and no one wants it, it's either A, an inferior product, or B, it's priced too highly for people to want to buy it, or maybe just she did poor market research and no one wants her product. So one of those three things need to change. She needs to either make a better product, adjust her prices, or maybe relocate to a place where someone does want her product. That is a self-regulating system, meaning that eventually people will rise up to provide the products that we need and want, and they will get better over time. Just like the first Nintendo was released in the 1980s. Man, I loved it. It was amazing. Now that I play it, I'm like, whoa, that was simple and cheesy. Because now, of course, video games have exponentially gone through the roof. Why? Because of profit motive. Because Nintendo is a multi-billion-dollar multinational conglomerate that grew out of some guy who liked to program, who made a simple little game that everybody loved. Adam Smith's theory was that laissez-faire economics is the way to do this. And that is that the government shouldn't get involved. Because basically, let's use meth as an example. One of you start producing methamphetamine. It's a dangerous product. You'll get severe health consequences. You'll get sick and die. Your neighbors are going to be upset with you. They'll take care of that. They're going to show up with a shotgun or something. It's a self-regulating system. But let's use a legal method instead. So you make ball caps. Let's say no one wants to buy your ball caps. Well, you're going to figure out something else to make. Again, his theory was that this works best when the government stays out of it. Now, the government's role in the marketplace should be severely limited to those few actions necessary to allow commerce to flourish. Now, history has shown this to be a little different. For example, Woodrow Wilson, former President of the United States, once said that free enterprise cannot function without the watchful, resolute interference of the government. Because free enterprise, in Wilson's perspective, benefited the powerful, those who were already powerful. Because here's the thing, if Alan is wealthy and I'm not, and I'm selling you this stapler for $5, this is the cheapest I can sell this stapler and still make a living. He can run at a loss, sell it for $4 and drive me out of business and make a monopoly. And until 1886, there was no law against that, and John D. Rockefeller controlled the world's oil supply because of that. He would undersell the competition, he would drive them out of business, and he would buy up their businesses, and before you knew it, he was the only oil provider in the United States.